Hi, everyone. I'm Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer, and welcome back to Sabine's Common Sense. Thank you so much for listening and for helping me be on purpose. So, today we're going to be talking about describing a brand with another brand and how that's going to work out for you. And I also have the pleasure of interviewing a life and wardrobe stylist, which is something new. Her name is Dionne Nicholls. She went from fashion to finance and then some. So she's going to let us know all about it, all the details, and you don't want to miss it. It's super interesting conversation. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so there's something that I kind of wanted to reiterate to you guys that, I probably said before, about your brand being an asset and why you really want to protect and police it. And I was sort of, checking my messages, looking at some articles, and found an article about Tiffany versus Costco, how they had a lawsuit that was recently settled, but was going on for 8 years. And so there's a lot of details there that I wanted to kind of discuss. And it reminded me of a friend that I have who worked at Tiffany's. And we had a conversation about her telling me that, they, within the jewelry industry, that they tend to buy diamonds and stuff like that from the same distributors. And so it just so happens that she had mentioned that you can get a Tiffany diamond from Walmart, you can get one from Costco, because they all buy from the same distributor. And sometimes they get like priority pick because they're large corporations. And so you might even get a better diamond there than you're getting at Tiffany's, which I thought was interesting. And then full circle, Tiffany's and Costco is having this lawsuit going on. So what happened in the lawsuit is that Costco actually was selling this ring that was in a high setting, and they labeled it Tiffany style ring, right? Not on the ring, but on sort of like their display, advertising. And Tiffany caught wind of this, and they decided that that was improper, that, Costco was actually using their mark and benefiting off of their brand, because Tiffany brand is, that's jewelry, that's luxury, that's high class. So if Costco now is selling that, now they're sort of like, making money off of the back of their brand. They're stepping on their rights. So long story short, they sue them, and Costco's like, no, we're just describing it. Tiffany's is a way to call something within the industry. And, and because we did that, it's just because everybody knows that this is the type of style of ring. And Tiffany's is like, no, the court decided with Tiffany's and said, no, you knew what you were doing. You made all this money off of using their brand, et cetera, et cetera. And they were supposed to have paid Tiffany's $21 million. Which is a lot. That's 3 times the profits that they made, as well as punishment just for them doing it. Like, okay, you use their brand, and so now we're going to punish you for doing that, so we're going to make you pay extra. And so that's how that went down. Turns out a higher court said, no, not so fast. You can't just, summarily decide that. And so you have to actually look at all the facts and circumstances. Anyways, long story short, 8 years later, they decided to settle the case. But really what I wanted you as the entrepreneur or the consumer to know, that you need to really police your brands. If you have a trademark, you need to do what Tiffany did and say, hey, no, you can't do that. You can't use our mark, even if it's just to describe what you're doing, because now you're weakening the strength of our mark. And really, Tiffany should have done this earlier, because why is their name an industry standard for the style of ring? Even if they started it, they should have been telling everybody, don't even, go there, right? So there's that. You could get yourself into a lot of deep water, or hot water, I should say, especially, as your brand grows. If you're doing this type of thing with other brands, like using them to sort of like give yourself a leg up, but, in a cute way, no, it's not going to work for you. And so the intent matters. It also, depends what your intention is, but be very careful, because it is your responsibility to use your brand in the right way, not step on other people's rights, and do your due diligence. All right. Now let's get into this interview. Hi, Dionne.
Hey, Sabine.
It is always a pleasure to be in your presence.
Oh my gosh, the feeling is absolutely mutual.
Thank you so much. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way. I know, but Dionne really is special to me. Your energy is amazing. It's like she's walking around with a cloud of peace around her. So it's wonderful. If y'all were here, you would know what I mean.
Wow. All I can say is you can be my PR any day.
Yes, yes.
That means a lot. But no, it's actually really special to be here as well.
Thank you.
Everything you said 10 times, just your heart, just all that you are.
Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you. I see you try to one up me. It's okay. Just kidding.
It's all love.
Thank you. All love around the table. For sure. Yeah. So we were just kind of talking about how we first met. We're both we're both living in New York City area and had connections to real estate.
Yeah.
And been in various rooms together. And then because we have like this chemistry going on, we just like got closer and closer. And now Dionne's my coach.
Yeah. I mean, how lucky am I?
She's getting all up in here.
I mean, I have her as a friend.
Yes.
I have her as a client.
Yes.
And then I consider you a sister.
Thank you.
In Christ, and just, my sister from another sister. So, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So Dionne is super accomplished. She's had, I feel like, so many lives, right? Because she's done a lot of different things. And I really admire her ability to shift and to pivot, and still do it successfully every time, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about your first career as, in the fashion industry.
Sure. So it's funny. We were talking about, how did I end up in New York?
Right.
I was this wide-eyed little girl from Ottawa, Ontario, and I had a dream to work on Fifth Avenue in New York City. And I did it. I actually made it there. That's an interesting journey in itself.
Right.
Right. But it was the most phenomenal experience. So I actually, funny enough, started out as what they call a sales assistant. So I actually discovered the account management side of the wholesale luxury market.
Okay.
Because all along I thought I wanted to be a buyer, where you travel the world.
Right.
But as I mentioned before, just through serendipitous events, I found the wholesale side where I could be closer to product, really actually have an influence on the actual collection, have input. The idea of being able to travel. I love working with people, but I'm a touch and feel kind of person. And I realized it takes a long time as a buyer to even get to that point. You know?
So you bypassed what you thought you wanted and got to something even better.
I sure did.
Okay.
And best decision I ever made. Funny enough, I was laid off my first position.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
you know what? It's always a blessing when you get laid off.
It was because I went from assisting the sales team, the account management team, to becoming a junior account exec.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yes.
How fast did you do that?
Let me tell you, that was in 7 months. So when they
check her out, she's not playing.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
So I landed at a company called Rina Lange, which is they consider themselves the German Chanel, if you will, or the Chanel of Germany.
Yeah,
beautiful, luxurious suiting. And they handled all the major accounts. So even though they weren't a household name, they were a solid brand.
Okay.
So 20 doors at Neiman Marcus, 10 doors at Saks. They were in Bergdorf. So there I am now working with, I would consider him one of the most influential people in my career until this day. His name is Jim Fletcher. Just his work ethic.
Okay.
That how you are in the showroom is how you are out in the market, in your travels, in your events. There's a professionalism that you maintain, right? And so detail oriented, But it was a phenomenal experience. I had my own accounts, right? But here I am now. He took me under his wing, and I was taking quite a bit on with regards to Neiman's. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with trunk shows, but it was that era of fashion when you had these big events, and the limo would pick you up when you got off the plane, and ladies, especially I'll never forget my time going to Atlanta and seeing women like me.
Oh, yes.
Just dropping, how many thousands of dollars for their seasonal collection, It was it was intimidating at times because, again, that little girl from Ottawa is like, how did I end up here?
How did I get here?
But it was such a great experience in terms of growth. I was kind of shy growing up.
Okay.
And now here I am doing presentations for the entire store, for example, you know? So like I said, it pulled so much out of me.
Right.
From there, so I left that company, got recruited back. Is that the best?
Yes.
That's the best, right? My boss then recruited me back, my former boss recruited me back to that previous company that laid me off. But now I'm managing
Sweet
the entire,
victory.
right?
Right.
The entire women's division for an Italian luxury cashmere brand called Malo.
Okay.
And from there, my last position in fashion here in New York was with a company called Sonia Rykiel, which I hold most dearest to my heart.
Okay.
Because my mother, my parents are from St. Lucia.
Okay.
She had the foresight to put both my brother and I in French immersion. So when they
you both spoke French?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. So from first grade all the way through university. And when my parents had moved to Canada, they had moved to Montreal. But at the time, it was the French Revolution. It was like French only. They didn't speak French.
Okay.
We can't help them with their homework, all that kind of thing. So they moved
had to
Ottawa.
learn? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we moved to Ottawa, which is bilingual.
Okay.
But like I said, she said, I'm going to put you in French immersion in case you want to go back.
Okay.
So my brother and I, we didn't go back. But it's funny, we both moved to New York.
Oh, wow.
He ended up on Wall Street working for the French markets and for the stock exchange.
Okay.
And I ended up working eventually at Sonia Rykiel.
Wow.
I could not have gotten that position if I could not speak, work, and be able to function in French.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
And by the age of 34, I was director of sales, literally carrying the brand here in the United States on my shoulders.
That is beautiful.
So she cried. I just remember she cried. And now I actually had the opportunity to travel to Paris now 4 times a month. And that was the first time where I actually took her on one of my trips.
Oh, wow.
And it was her first time to Europe.
Wow, there was so much there, Dia. There's so much there. Beautiful, like, full circle story that you got to, something that was instilled in you as a child, you got to use as an adult and, like, sort of see how God pieces things together in your life. That's amazing. So beautiful. Yeah.
Nothing is wasted, as they say.
Not a thing. Not a thing. But tell me, what was it about your childhood that you said, I want to be this, in this fashion industry? And so I'm going to do it, period.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm going to say this.
Right.
From the time I was growing up, there was something in me.
Right.
Where there was this innate, like, love for fashion. We didn't actually have a lot of money. Okay. So my mom ended up raising us as a single mom. There's 4 of us.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'm borrowing clothes from mom's closet, even my brother's closet, my sister. You may remember Vanessa from Cosby Show.
Yes.
I mean, in middle school, I had the double belts with the frilly socks and the banana comb. I mean, I was usually the only chocolate chip in the salt shaker. You know what I mean? So you can imagine how I stood out.
Right.
But from very young, you know? And I used to love to watch my mom get dressed. Okay. And her and my dad at the time used to still, go out to the disco. Okay. And I'd be sitting there on her bed. Nope, not that belt. With that, you know what I mean?
Okay, so now I can see Lauren's future. Lauren's my daughter, and this is what she does. She's like dressing me. She's like telling me all about what I need to do and not to. So
watch out. So it was already there, and all my aunts, they were very stylish women. And then, all through high school, I always worked in retail. I used to love to watch, read the magazines and all of that. So it was always in me. I did not think I was going to move to New York, actually. Okay. I thought I was going to move to Toronto. So that was the big city from where I was coming from.
Okay. Was there like a fashion industry there? Was there like...
You know what it was? I worked for a company called Hudson's Bay.
Okay.
Right? All through, that was my part-time job in the fashion department. And so I thought I was going to go there and work for their corporate headquarters and become a buyer. And that was the dream.
Okay.
But of course, as always, along the way, there's someone, you meet someone.
Right.
And, he was my college sweetheart.
Okay.
And he moved to New York first.
Okay.
And so he gave me the courage to actually make the bigger move to the NYC. It was either NYC or Paris. You know what I mean? But I'm fortunate to have a mom who never held me back.
That's beautiful.
She never made me feel, afraid or, and never carried fear, never made me question my decision, which good. I'm very fortunate to have.
Okay. That's beautiful.
But yeah, I met someone where we both had big dreams, His name is Sean. He's actually my son's father. And, you know, his dream was to work on Wall Street and mine was to work on Fifth. So I think that was helpful too, to know.
To have that sort of community.
Exactly.
But you also had like the mindset to really not have, like you said, your mom encouraged you and did not cause you to question your decisions. So you had the mindset to hone in on what you wanted to do and just focus in on that. But you probably didn't realize you were doing that.
I didn't realize it. All I knew is that it had to be more than this. Because Ottawa's it's a small city. It's growing now.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just knew that I craved a bigger city.
Yeah.
You know, when you used to go out, you're always seeing the same people.
The same corners, the same stores. Yeah.
I always knew I was leaving Ottawa. I just didn't know it was going to be right to the Big Apple.
Similar. I had I always knew that there was more. Like I always felt like there's something more for me to do. There's like more for me to have in life other than what I saw like around me. Because my mom, she worked sort of like, I would say they worked kind of like blue collar jobs. And so I knew that wasn't it. I know, like, I didn't want that, and there was going to be something greater. So it's funny how people can set an example for you by just being, right? Yeah. And so they taught you something that, one, you have options. Two, there's no limit, you know? And they're doing this so you can get to the next level.
That's it, right. And as you said, my mom, she worked at a nursing home for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
You know? But as you said, I think it's watching that work ethic. And there was just that idea that, you know, no limits. They came from, I believe your parents, you know, they migrated as well.
Yeah,
so
my parents are from Haiti.
Right? There's a courage and a bravery that takes.
Yeah.
I remember her story, you know, arriving in Canada. All she had was a little dress on, freezing, you know, but that takes a lot of courage to leave all of your family. So
and everything.
I think maybe it's just in us. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. My mom came at 19 and didn't have much either. So that's the experience. So Dionne, there's something that you always ask me, that you always bring me back to. And I never asked you, what is your essence?
Ooh. And you know what's so nice? I can actually ream this baby off.
Good.
Because I actually do repeat it. I actually affirm it almost every day.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am light. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. I am magnetism.
Awesome. Yeah. I can attest to that.
Look how I drew you in, right?
Yes, you definitely did. You definitely did. So you went from, what I wanted to ask you, if there's somebody who sort of wants to get into the fashion industry, you sort of touched on the fact that there are many different careers. And then also if there is something that you could share about maybe a pathway or a door or anything.
Sure. So I'll say this. So when you actually talk to a lot of people in fashion, they actually didn't study fashion. That was what was so fascinating to you, as I got to know a lot of people in the industry. So this is something that you really can learn. But you may have to make some sacrifices, you know? And so don't let that limit you if that's something you want to get into. Okay. So yes, if you want to follow that path and go to FIT, certainly. But there's so many ways. I mean, I actually made it there by route of recruiting, believe it or not.
Okay.
I worked for a recruiting firm specializing in the fashion industry.
Okay.
In Trump Tower. That was a big deal when I first moved to New York, but now it's, But that's where I actually learned about the different opportunities.
Okay.
That's where I learned what trade publications to read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just don't let anything stop you. I think honestly, you know, you don't. There's no one path.
Okay.
And relationships.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said something that I thought was important. That you said it more than once. That you were reading trade magazines. You were understanding the industry, and I think a lot of times we can want something, but are we taking the steps, you know, to actually be there? So I think coupled with like your faith and your mindset and your desire to do it, you were actually in action. Yeah. And that's what kind of also helped you to get there.
All I can say is this. The universe wants to work with you. You just got to get into motion. You know, we could take it a step further. The creator is absolutely working in your favor. He just wants you to see you take the first step.
Yeah, it's a collaboration.
It is.
Right?
Totally.
It is, yeah. So you had this wonderful career. You know, you kind of, you walked up the ladder super fast, right?
Yeah.
Shattered glass ceilings. And also we're not as sort of liberal as we are now in terms of Black women in these sort of prominent positions, right? So what gave you permission to leave all of that?
Wow. So, interesting enough, after I finished my time at Rikiel, I actually moved to Toronto for a few years in 2012.
Okay.
And I ended up, it's funny enough, I ended up landing my first position, was a New York-based company.
Okay.
You may have heard of it, Lafayette 148, New York.
Okay, yes.
But I felt very fortunate because it's a private-owned, female-owned company that really focused on luxury that was accessible, right?
Okay.
And they were fully vertically integrated, really impressive, business model. And basically, I was managing all of their accounts for Canada.
Okay.
Which was really awesome. Again, just getting to travel across the country, meeting amazing people, representing a brand I could get behind. 'Cause that's important to me. Then I actually got recruited to launch, you may have heard of Kleinfeld, New York.
Yes.
Well, I was actually handpicked to be a part of the management team for one of the most buzzed about retail ventures in the country at the time.
Wow.
So they were opening their first outpost in the world outside of New York.
Oh, wow.
In Toronto. Now, remember, I have no retail experience. I have no bridal experience, right? So again, I know there's someone looking out for you, right?
Yeah.
But going back to relationships. So when I'm living in New York, you're working with your accounts, right? You are making sure you're creating these solid relationships, even friendships. So when I was now living in Toronto and they're looking for someone to spearhead the customer experience and manage their team, guess who they reached out to?
You.
Not because I had bridal.
Right.
Not because I had retail. Relationships are so key.
Right. Yeah. So listen to what she's saying. If you want to get yourself into these industries where it seems like it's very difficult, you need to be yourself and you need to be good to people, right?
Yes. You got to manage yourself with a spirit of excellence. So going back to what my boss said, right? You don't want to burn bridges, and everything you just said there.
Yeah.
You make sure you're showing up fully everywhere you go.
Right.
So when I got recommended for the position, they said, I believe Dionne could do anything she puts her mind to.
Oh, awesome.
So can you imagine, that's, so going back to also just reputation, again, really what you're putting out there in terms of your personal brand is so important.
That's true.
That it precedes you.
I learned that, everything is an interview, right? I feel like I messed that up during my lifetime because there are decisions that I made that I'm not fond of. However, I feel like every single opportunity that you have to interact with people, they are assessing, they are taking note of who you are, characteristics, your energy, all of that. So never feel like a moment is wasted because everything is an interview,
Well said. And I have a little story I think that really drives this home.
Sure.
So remember that position that I landed with Lafayette 148 New York? So when I went for the interview, the person who's actually interviewing me, the founder of the company, didn't come out to meet me. She had the secretary actually call me into her office. So she actually uses this as a weed out process. She is observing how the person is walking to her office.
Oh, wow.
It's the walk. She's
like, it's the walk for me.
It's the walk.
Right.
So you may have seen me walk, right?
Yes.
I walk with intention, right? And so that told her that, okay, this girl's it seems like she's proactive.
Right.
She's going to initiate. She's high energy just from my walk.
Okay.
So if I was walking kind of lazy and haphazard, and she's like, okay.
Yeah, she can't even walk peppy, like lazy in the walk.
Yeah.
No.
And she says it hasn't let her down yet.
That's
Good.
That's
so
good.
Just giving you a sense that you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And
it's always the things that when you're not on, right? It's always the things that people can notice and see when you're just sort of like being.
Yeah.
And so that does speak mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That really does.
So that's a great point.
Yeah. Thank you. So you're at Kleinfeld in
Yes.
Toronto.
And, it was an amazing experience, 20,000 square foot bridal emporium, all the major designers from around the world, are coming to our store. I mean, I'm managing 20 people. I mean, it should have been, right? I should have been on cloud nine. I'm actually flying to New York. I still get to go to New York.
Awesome.
I'm on the show. I mean, it was so, you may have heard of Say Yes to the Dress.
Yes. Oh, you were on Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh my gosh, right?
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, there's just something. There's something telling me there's more.
Wow.
Also, it's interesting. There's vision that's pulling me. Like, I feel like I'm at a point where there's just a next step for me. It just can't be one more dress or one more. At the same time, there were circumstances too that were pushing me. Okay. Because I'd never worked retail before, and it was a launch. Yeah. And I'm managing about 20 people at the time. So I just
wanted to interject there because, it's interesting how with all that you have accomplished, you still had this one thing that you felt like was probably bigger than your accomplishments. I didn't work retail, and that's if you want to call it the enemy or the negative conversations that will, try to convince you that you're not who you are, but you embodied it. You already had it, Yeah.
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 Yeah. So with that said, like I said, there's something that's telling me there's more. Yeah. At the same time, there were circumstances, like I said, that were also pushing me because the hours, I wasn't used to not being home for my son at around 5, 6 o'clock. Totally now I have to work weekends. I'm there before the troops, after the troops. I felt like he was spending more time with family and the babysitter and friends, you know? And at this time, when I moved back to Canada, I'd left his father. So I'm a single mom at this time too. But yeah, there was just, something tugging at me. I actually thought I was going to go back to school and be a kindergarten school teacher.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do that?
Oh, you know what it was? I just loved that age. Like my son was such a sponge at that age. And so that's where I thought I was going to go. And luckily I had a good friend who said, Dionne, why not? Okay, good. Because I'm 40 at this point. Okay. So I'm a 40-year-old single mom. Okay. After a singular career in fashion, about 20 years at this point. Right. But it's amazing how things went. So at one point, his father was really asking for me to send him back to New York. And he kind of got me at a weak point, I would say. Because like I said, I'm working so many hours. I don't like the fact I can't be at home with him as much. And so I actually did let him go that summer, right? And it was one of the toughest decisions I ever made.
Wow. I can imagine.
But by December, he's like, Mom, I want to come home. Oh. And I'm like...
How old is he at this time?
At that time, he's about 10. Okay. And I always believe, that sons need their fathers. I always saw it like later down the line, like when he's more of a teenager,
he might
that
need you
kind
more.
of thing. Like he could, but I wasn't really ready for him to go yet. But like I said, I said, okay, I made that decision. But by December, he was ready to come home. But I'm like, okay, I don't want to pull him out of school in the middle of the school year. I said, what if I can find a way that Mom could still, be there for you on a regular basis? Right. And it was right around that time, actually, his father offered me the opportunity to launch a financial literacy youth program. Okay. Which I was like, okay, let me just think on this one, right? But it
totally
was
different career.
Yeah.
Right.
However, it was still educating and empowering the next generation. Okay. Just in a different way.
Okay. So that tied to the desire to be the teacher.
Right. And so I said, okay, God, your gifts don't always come packaged exactly how you expect them to.
100%.
But also I'm looking at who it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's with a side eye?
Woo!
Okay.
I had to really think on that.
Not the baby daddy.
Woo!
Right.
Right? But I went for it.
Okay.
And this part really speaks to the power of forgiveness, which I believe is a big part of my ministry, because I was now traveling back and forth once a month. I was able to, so I left fashion, went from fashion to finance. We launched a financial literacy youth program called Financially Clean. It was a 12-week curriculum. I was able to work in what I bring, in terms of networking, branding. Your net worth is your network is your net worth.
Right.
All of those soft skills that I used in sales and marketing, I was able to bring to the program. But yeah, there I am building a website, a curriculum, like all these things I've never done before, right?
I just wanted to...
Sure.
So there's a couple of things you said. So one, you were listening. You were listening to yourself. You were listening to the desires that you had, and you were trying to figure out how to tie them into something that would, make you feel more at peace. You had faith and you had courage to work with someone who you're not necessarily were on the same page with on a lot of things. And then you were creative in finding ways to use the skills that you had already.
Yes.
And tie them into this whole new area, which seemingly is completely different from fashion to finance, So continue. I just want people to get, get these things, because a lot of times we go through life and we can sort of like not see where the connections are happening, because obviously we're not doing the connecting.
Yes.
Right? But there is a map. And so if we pay attention to like how things are working together, we can kind of maybe figure out the next mile or so.
Right. Because we don't get the whole path.
Whole thing.
We just get the crumbs, right? That lead us.
Exactly.
Very well said.
Thank you. So financial, doing the curriculum and everything, putting that together.
Yeah, the whole thing. And the mission is to eventually see, financial literacy as a permanent part of, the school curriculum. That was the overall vision.
Yes. And you guys were right on time.
Yes.
right on time with that.
And before you know it, we started out as an after-school program. And, this one principal gave us our first play.
Yeah.
We went in just to get some advice, and he actually gave us our first play.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool. That was the School of Math. And then from there, before you know it, we were in the actual classroom. We thought there was going to be a lot more red tape.
Okay.
But do you realize you see how when you're on purpose, things just flow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So now we're actually in the schools. And we were going into some of the most under-resourced areas in the city to actually teach the program. So it was really important that we were offering a program. And really, so my co-founder, his name is Sean Linda.
Okay.
He has this very straight talk strategic approach to the way he delivers, we make it fun. So it really speaks to them, because a lot of times these programs, they do come in, but it's like it's speaking over them.
Correct.
They can't relate to the person standing in front of them, right? So that's, I think, what was our secret sauce, if you will, right? So we're doing that. But it was interesting. So now in the back of the classroom, right, you've got the teachers, you've even got the principals taking feverish notes.
Right?
Yeah. Because everybody really does need this information.
Everybody needs it. Adults, everyone, not just the kids. But that's good. I mean, you guys were, again, taking steps towards walking this thing out, and then it started to blossom and grow its own legs, right?
That's right. So before you know it, now I have to add one thing before I move on here. My son would sometimes come.
Oh, that's awesome.
To watch us teach.
Yeah.
So that was meaningful to both of us.
Yes.
That our son was actually seeing us working together, rewriting our legacy, and putting good into the world.
Awesome.
Understanding that we weren't together.
Yes.
And he actually wrote an essay about it.
Oh, wow.
And he actually let me read it the morning before he had to submit. And I was surprised he'd ever, write something so vulnerable.
Wow.
But I just remember a tear coming down my eye because he said, at the beginning of this essay that, when my parents had broken up, it's like my little heart was, broken into a million pieces.
Yeah.
And I was walking along the cold concrete. I mean, very vivid.
Wow.
But now they figured out a way to be together, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're not together.
Yeah. I love that. And we got so many gems here, right? So with parenting, even if you are not together and you don't see eye to eye, you're not on quote unquote the same page, but you can find ways to make it work.
Yeah.
You can look past your emotions. You can look past your feelings, not to your detriment, but in a way that how can we make this work?
Yeah.
And kids definitely absorb things. You may not realize the things they absorb, but they absorb everything that's happening. They're smarter than we think.
Yes, yes. And they're more watching than listening to you.
Yes, exactly.
So what,
they're
as
more
you were
watching.
going back to what you were saying earlier about modeling, modeling for them.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew I'd done the right thing.
Yes.
Right?
That moment.
That moment.
Yes.
I knew I had done the right thing. And so, before you know it, a 5-star rated podcast was born.
Wow.
We had needed to figure out a way, how do we get beyond the classroom? Because there's a lot of people out there who also want this information.
Right.
And again, that happened so organically. The name came so organically. So it's called Two Black Guys with Good Credit.
Okay, awesome.
I was the lady with the facts.
Awesome.
So it's this light kind of barbershop banter.
You see how many careers this woman has had? Like, it's awesome. And I just think it's great that you were able to just sort of be fully immersed in every single thing that you did. And I love that you guys didn't have everything figured out.
No.
You know, and I feel like young people now, they have so much pressure because it's so easy to create. It's so easy. And they're like, we got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. But sometimes if you have an idea and you just start doing and, things just sort of like develop.
They do.
It's
they
easy,
really
right?
do.
Yeah.
The way the name came about, Lady with the Facts, we can't even remember.
Right.
And literally everyone, if you want to start a podcast, we started with a computer and a mic. At that point, 3 of us were all living in a different city. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, don't even let borders stop you.
Yeah. No excuses. No excuses. Right.
So we started our podcast. It's really like this very, like I said, fun, light, interactive approach to delivering it.
Yes. What year did you guys start? Do you remember?
I believe we started in 2014.
Okay. See, they were on the cutting edge of this financial, literacy boom.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. But we basically take these, complex finance principles and we kind of just break it down into simpler, accessible ways.
Awesome.
And people seem to take to it, you know?
Right.
And don't let the name fool you. So we are, speaking to people across ethnicities, age brackets, male, female. Before you know it, though, we got signed to a network.
Wow.
So
you're
a couple of
signed
years
to a
ago.
network.
Yeah.
You go out on faith, you move to a new city again, right?
Yeah, I came back to New York.
You leave your career, you start a new career.
Yes.
Right? You're successful and you decide to leave again. What?
You know what? I still knew there was more.
Oh my God.
Right?
I love that you weren't afraid because sometimes people feel like even if they do have the courage to leave and they do this next thing, it's like, okay, I can't certainly leave again if I don't like it. And you're like you said, you're in your 40s already and you're just like, it's all right. This is not the end for me. There are options. Go ahead.
Just getting started.
Come
on. But interestingly enough, right? So it's actually during a podcast episode. Okay. So the feeling was already there. I was already kind of doing this soul searching, right? And it was actually an episode called Maximizing the Minimum. So this is actually a white woman. She's a yoga teacher. Actually, my co-founder, his yoga teacher. Her name is Ariel Kiley. And she'd actually paid off over $30,000 in debt from listening to our podcast.
What? That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So that's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah,
that's what
right?
would wake me up in the morning. But I still felt, there's
a little
still
itch there, something going on.
Right? But it was such an amazing conversation because she'd also become what they either call a minimalist or an essentialist. Right? So we're kind of also discussing how her life got richer the more she pared down. Her business grew. Her friendships were richer, but she said something very simple, yet, and almost very cliche. And we already know this, but she's at one point she said, just following her intuition more and making sure you do what makes you happy.
That's key. I mean, like you said, I know it does sound cliche, but I keep saying this thing about cliches, like the reason why they keep coming around in different ways is that it's true.
Yeah.
It's almost like we need to be beat over the head with it because it's like, keep it simple. Like, you have a compass.
Yes.
Can you just follow the freaking compass?
Trust the compass.
Trust it. What? Guys, I hope you're getting this. Like, definitely trust yourself. Even if it seems crazy to other people that you would leave a successful career, you would leave a successful podcast, she's trusting herself. And we need to, I don't want to say you need to listen to me, but, like this is the stuff,
This is the stuff. This
Right.
is the stuff. And when you're in it, you're not realizing it. It's now hindsight now, right?
Yeah, right.
But I'm like, wow, because I knew there was something in my gut telling me something, right? And so funny enough, very, again, serendipitous. I'm saying serendipitous, but we all know, right?
Yeah.
Our steps are being ordered. But funny enough, the love of my life, David Germain, he had a life coach when I met him, shortly after I met him. And sometimes he would allow me to be in his sessions.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. And she might bring me in,
Front row.
Right? So I saw it in action.
That's how you know he loved you, girl.
But I got to see some coaching in real time. So I thought, oh, this is cool. And then, so shortly after that episode, though, that we did with Ariel, I saw this Instagram post go up from his coach that they're looking for new registrants for their program. So I reached out to her.
Right.
And I love what she had to say. I didn't think I was going to be a coach at the time. I just thought I was going to use this to facilitate the workshops and the things I want to do in the women's empowerment space. That's what I thought, And she said, you can actually start in New York, but that would be not till the following year. Or you could start in September in DC.
Oh.
So now I'm going to DC once a month while I'm doing a podcast, a financial literacy program, and I was still consulting at the time. Right?
Wow. So you're not, borders don't matter, like location, nothing. Just do it. Go ahead.
And I'm a mom.
And you're a
new
mom.
relationship, all that good stuff, right?
Wow.
So now I'm going to DC once a month for a weekend, immersing myself for a year in this program.
Wow, a whole year.
Yeah. And it was phenomenal. Life-changing, personally and now professionally, of course, right? So I graduated in 2019. And at that point, I'm still doing all these other things.
Right.
So I'm just dabbling in my coaching. I'm not really as focused on it at that point, right?
What got you to the point where you're like, I'm going to do this?
Great question. The good old pandemic. The good old pandemic. I remember. Now, at that point, I had just finished a real estate course.
Yeah, wow. She was doing all the things, y'all.
Yes. So,
if you think you busy, or you got plans.
So, David, my fiance, he's also a real estate instructor. I literally just passed the test.
You were kind of trying to find a thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, literally just finished the test on that. Was it the 16th?
Okay.
Did we go on lockdown on the 17th?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think so. So I remember the next day, we went on lockdown. I pulled out my journal, got real still, and I said, God, what is the meaning of this moment? And I wrote, actually what came to me was pivotal. That it's a pivotal moment, ...
Yes. Wait for it. You made space. Yeah. You made space to sort of receive whatever it is that you kind of were looking for.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're searching, running to and fro, and we don't give the space to receive it,
Yeah. So that was what was, I think, really key, is that have that quiet time. And then I just got the divine download, and I just started writing everything I wanted to create for 2020. And I can honestly say I did it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So in a pandemic, I had a full practice. I said I wanted to launch a show.
You did that.
So I launched my first season. A certain person actually was one of my inaugural guests.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was so great. So the show's called What Gives You Life.
Yes, and where can they find that?
And that's on YouTube.
Okay.
And my YouTube channel is called Live Your Best Life for You.
Yes.
Which is also the name of my coaching business. So I get to work with amazing women like Sabine.
Thank you.
Who already wear many hats, but still want more.
Right.
And healthy ways to balance it all. So I get to work with them to co-create, lives of limitless possibility, passion, and purpose. Yeah. But the beauty of it is, so going back to God Wastes Nothing, I get to do it from the inside out. So yes, I'm a life coach, but I call myself a life and wardrobe stylist.
Yes, I love that you brought that up. But I wanted to say that, Dionne, you know how she seems very nice and kind. She does it. I talked about her presence, but she will not let you get away with your foolishness, okay? She will call you to the carpet and make you deal with it. So that's what I love about you. Like, sometimes women, they look at us as one-dimensional because of the way that we present, but we are a lot of things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you bring it when it needs to be brought.
Oh my gosh. Because you know what I stand for? I stand for your greatness.
Yeah. Oh.
So yeah.
Lovely.
So there may be days, where you're like, you might get into the thoughts and, I got to be there to make sure I stand for you.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me about combining the life and wardrobe styling. What does that sort of mean for you and for your clients? Yeah.
Sure. So for me, it means that I've actually, been able to marry my passion for fashion and my purpose, which is to empower women.
Right.
And
full circle
and bring that together.
Yeah. Awesome.
And so I can work with their being. And then if they want their look to now reflect that new being, I can do that too.
Oh,
I
love that, Dionne. That is amazing. I just love your story. So many different dimensions. We don't know where we're going next. We're like, what?
You and me both. I'm riding this wave,
But I love that because you give a lot of us permission to just, like life is not one way. It's not one dimensional. Yeah. You don't have to do any particular thing unless it's like unhealthy or, you just, you give us the freedom to sort of do that. So thank you for the example you bring.
You're welcome. Yeah, for me, and I also created a workshop called The Reset,
yes.
And for me, it's because it's my belief.
Yes.
Like I said, I was a 40-year-old single mom in a single career for 20 years.
Right.
So it is my belief that anyone
can,
at any stage, at any age, can reset their life.
Oof. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Dionne, this was a pleasure.
So good.
Yes, so good. I'm going to do a quick lightning round with you that I call Right Quick. So
all right.
I'm going to say it. You're going to give me one or two words, or if you have to draw it out to a sentence, that's fine. But here we go.
Okay.
So, freedom.
Liberty.
Peace.
Oh, joy.
Fun.
Nature.
And don't mess with.
Ooh, my back.
Your belly?
Oh, don't mess with my food.
Okay, so listen, do not mess with Dionne's belly. She's not playing. From foodie to foodie, we know. You guys know. If you guys are foodies, you know what that means.
If I had to add one more thing to fun, though, I love to dance.
Oh,
I
awesome.
lose myself when it comes to music and dancing.
That's good to know. Yeah. So we got to go dance.
Oh, we do? I saw you over there at the last event.
No. Okay,
yes.
so just remind everyone where they can find you.
Sure. So you can find me on social media on Instagram, Facebook at Dionne Nicholls. That's Dionne, Nicholls, Nichols. My website is Live Your Best Life for You, all words. And definitely check out my YouTube channel.
Her
Lots
YouTube
of great
channel.
stuff.
She has courses and webinars that she does all the time. So follow her and get your whole life together. Start to live your best life.
Hey.
Thank you, Dionne.
Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you. Boom.
Woo!